A former sportsbook manager just revealed the exact system professional bettors use to turn $500 into five-figure profits during a single NFL season, and it has nothing to do with luck or insider tips. Internal reports from sharp bettors and former bookmakers expose five specific strategies that can turn small, strategic bets into consistent wins. Techniques so effective that sportsbooks will actually ban you for using them. By the end of this video, you'll understand the five insider methods sharps use to consistently profit from small NFL bets, and why the sportsbooks are terrified of these techniques going mainstream. Let's start with the first strategy that changed everything for a former accountant named Mike. Mike was a regular guy from Ohio who worked a normal 9-to-5 job crunching numbers for a manufacturing company. Nice guy, loved football, bet on NFL games every Sunday just for fun. He had a routine where every Saturday night he'd log into his sportsbook account and place about 5 or 6 bets for the next day's games. Over the course of 3 years, Mike estimated he'd wagered about $15,000 total. According to his own calculations, he won back about $13,500. He was losing, but not enough to really worry about. That all changed when Mike attended his college reunion and ran into an old friend named Jake who worked in the sports betting industry. Jake pulled Mike aside after a few drinks and asked him a simple question. Do you shop for the best line before you bet? Mike had no idea what that even meant. Jake explained that different sportsbooks offer different odds on the same game, and if Mike was just betting at one book, he was leaving massive value on the table. Former sportsbook employees have confirmed that the number one thing separating sharp bettors from casual losers is line shopping. It sounds simple, almost too simple, but according to insider data, this one habit can improve your return on investment by 10 to 15% over the long term. Mike decided to test it out. Instead of just using his usual book, he opened accounts at 4 different sportsbooks. The next weekend, he wanted to bet on the Kansas City Chiefs minus 3.5 points. But before placing the bet, he checked all 4 of his accounts. One book had the Chiefs at minus 3.5. 2 books had them at minus 4. But one book still had them at minus 3. Mike bet the Chiefs at minus 3. The Chiefs won by exactly 3 points. At minus 3, Mike pushed and got his money back. At minus 3.5 or minus 4, he would have lost. That half point just saved him $100, and Mike's eyes were open to a whole new world. Mike started line shopping religiously after that first experience, and within 6 months his results completely flipped. Instead of losing about $500 a year, he was up $2,200. He was making consistent money betting the exact same games he always bet, just getting better numbers. Former bookmakers have revealed that line shopping is so powerful because those half points and extra cents add up faster than most bettors realize. Over a full NFL season of 17 weeks, getting even just a quarter point better on average across all your bets can be the difference between a winning year and a losing year according to mathematical analysis. Mike was hooked, but he knew there had to be more to the puzzle. That's when he discovered strategy number 2, something industry insiders call reverse line movement. Before I explain what that is, I'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe and let me know in the comments, what's your biggest NFL betting win or loss? All right, back to the story. Mike started noticing something strange in his line shopping. Sometimes a line would move in the opposite direction of where the public was betting. For example, 75% of bets would be on the Cowboys minus 3, but the line would actually move to Cowboys minus 2.5. This made no sense to Mike. At first, why would bookmakers make it easier to bet on the Cowboys if everyone was already hammering them? A former oddsmaker explained to Mike that this happens when sharp bettors, the professionals who bet big money and win consistently, are betting heavily on the other side. The sportsbooks respect sharp money more than public money, So even if 75% of bets are on Dallas, if a few known sharps bet $10,000 each on the opponent, the book will move the line to protect themselves. According to insider reports, reverse line movement is one of the clearest signals of where the smart money is going. Mike started tracking every instance of reverse line movement he could find. He kept a spreadsheet logging the games, the line movement, and the results. After tracking 43 games over a 2-month period, he discovered that betting with the reverse line movement won 28 times. That's a 65% win rate, which is absolutely massive in sports betting. Industry experts confirm that anything above 53% is considered profitable once you factor in the juice. Mike was now using 2 strategies, and his bankroll had grown from $500 to almost $4,000 in less than a year. But wait until you hear strategy number 3, because this one is where things get really interesting. This technique actually guarantees profit regardless of which team wins, according to former sharp bettors, and we'll reveal exactly how it works in just a second. Strategy number 3 is called middling, and when Mike first heard about it, he thought it was too good to be true. The concept is simple, but powerful, according to sharp bettors. You bet both sides of a game at different numbers, and if the final score lands in the middle, you win both bets. Here's how Mike used it for the first time. On a Monday morning, he saw the Buffalo Bills were favored by 3 points over the Miami Dolphins. He bet Buffalo -3 for $100. By Thursday, the line had moved to Buffalo -6 because of injury news and heavy betting action. Mike then bet Miami +6 for $100. Now he had both sides covered with a 3-point middle. If Buffalo won by exactly 4 or 5 points, both his bets would win and he'd profit $180 after the juice. If Buffalo won by 3 or less, his Miami bet would win and his Buffalo bet would push, netting him $90. If Buffalo won by 6 or more, his Buffalo bet would win and his Miami bet would push, also netting him $90. The only way Mike could lose money was if the score landed exactly on 3 or exactly on 6, in which case he'd break even with both bets pushing. Buffalo ended up winning by 5 points. Mike won both bets and collected $180 in pure profit with 0 risk of losing. Former professional bettors have revealed that sharp players hunt for middling opportunities every single week during the NFL season. It doesn't happen on every game, but when line movement is dramatic enough, usually 3 points or more, these guaranteed profit windows open up. According to insider analysis, Mike hit about 6 successful middles that season, and even the ones that didn't hit the exact middle still resulted in small wins or break-evens, never losses. But here's where Mike's story takes a darker turn. Strategy number 4 is something called steam chasing, and this is where things get dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. Mike learned about steam the hard way. Steam happens when a line moves drastically and suddenly across multiple sportsbooks at the same time, usually within seconds or minutes. This signals that a huge bet or multiple huge bets from respected sharps just came in. Mike started chasing steam blindly, betting whatever side the line was moving toward. For 3 weeks, it worked beautifully. He was up another $1,800. But then Mike made a critical mistake. He saw the Jets line move from +7 to +4 in about 90 seconds. He immediately bet the Jets +4 for $500, his biggest bet ever. What Mike didn't know was that the steam move was based on false injury information. The starting quarterback was reportedly out, but that report turned out to be wrong. The line snapped back to +7 within 20 minutes, and Mike was stuck with a terrible number. The Jets lost by 10 points, and Mike dropped $500 in one afternoon. Over the next 2 weeks, Mike chased more steam and lost another $3,300. He went from being up $4,000 to being down $800 overall, and he was devastated. That's when his friend Jake intervened again and taught Mike the correct way to use Steam. According to former sharp bettors, you never chase Steam blindly. You wait 5 to 10 minutes after the initial move to see if the line holds or if it was based on bad information. You also verify the reason for the move through multiple sources before betting. Mike learned his lesson and started using Steam correctly, only betting when the move was confirmed and sustained. Within a month, he'd recovered his losses and was back in profit. But the real game changer came with strategy number 5, something called closing line value. Former bookmakers have revealed that closing line value is the holy grail metric that separates long-term winners from everyone else. The concept is this: if you consistently bet at better numbers than where the line closes right before kickoff, you will profit over time according to statistical analysis. Mike started tracking every single one of his bets against the closing line. If he bet the Packers -3 and the line closed at -4, he gained 1 point of closing line value. Over the next 6 months, Mike discovered he was beating the closing line on 61% of his bets. That's when things got serious. His bankroll grew from $4,000 to $12,000, then to $23,000. And by the end of his second full season, using all 5 strategies, Mike had turned his initial $500 into $47,000. But success came with consequences. 3 of the sportsbooks Mike used started limiting his bet sizes. One book allowed him to bet a maximum of $50 per game instead of his usual $500. Another book closed his account entirely with a message saying they reserve the right to refuse service. The third book required manager approval for every bet he wanted to place, which could take hours. According to industry insiders, this is exactly what happens to sharp bettors who consistently win. The sportsbooks don't want your action if you're beating them. Mike's story proves these 5 strategies actually work, but there's one more critical piece that determines whether you build wealth or lose everything. It's called bankroll management, and without it, even the sharpest bettor will eventually go broke. Mike watched this happen to someone he met in an online betting forum, a guy named Tony who knew all 5 strategies but had zero discipline with his money. Tony started with $1,000 and grew it to $8,000 in 3 months using the exact same methods Mike used. But instead of betting 2 to 3% of his bankroll per game like the professionals do, Tony started making huge bets, sometimes risking 30 or 40% on a single game.